Things are getting pretty intense in the MCU's multiverse storyline. One of the biggest hints fans have latched onto involves Doctor Doom, now played by Robert Downey Jr. And here's the wild part. There's a moment where Doom is seen kneeling before baby Franklin Richards, which definitely looks like he's either trying to steal him or use him somehow for the massive army he's putting together. That little scene alone tells us a lot. Doom is clearly on a mission to collect power, and if he's after someone as significant as Franklin, we're looking at a version of Doom who's as dangerous as he is calculated. This all ties into another fan theory that's been gaining traction. Could Chris Evans show up in Avengers Doomsday, not as the heroic Steve Rogers we knew, but as the twisted version known as Captain HYDRA? For context, in the comics during the Secret Empire arc, reality is rewritten so that Steve Rogers had always been a HYDRA agent. He becomes one of Marvel's most terrifying villains and even gains magical powers at one point. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. So if we're already dabbling in multiverse variants, there's a pretty decent chance Marvel could explore this storyline. And here's why it makes sense. Even though Chris Evans hasn't officially been announced as part of the Avengers Doomsday cast, Marvel boss Kevin Feige has already said that some cast members were purposely not revealed during the live stream announcement. Plus, Evans already made a return to the MCU playing Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine, so the idea of him popping up again isn't far-fetched at all. What's even more exciting is that Robert Downey Jr. coming back, but not as Iron Man, opens the door for other original Avengers actors to take on completely new roles, possibly even as villains. Fans are speculating that we might see multiversal variants of the original Avengers teaming up with Doom. Imagine Chris Evans as a villainous Captain HYDRA working alongside RDJ's Doctor Doom. The MCU has hinted at this possibility before, like when Steve Rogers whispered, "Hail Hydra" in Avengers Endgame. That scene may have just been a clever ruse at the time, but looking back, it feels like a wink at the potential for a darker Steve. And when you think about it, Doctor Doom is going to need backup. In Avengers Doomsday, he's expected to go up against not just the new Avengers led by Sam Wilson, but also the Fantastic Four, the original X-Men from Fox's universe, and more. That's a lot of heat. So Doom building a multiverse team of heavy hitters, including dark versions of former heroes, feels like a natural escalation. Now, zooming out a bit, there's also talk about how the upcoming movies could lead to a full-on reset of the MCU. During a press conversation, Feige spoke about how Avengers Secret Wars will reboot, or rather reset, the MCU into a single timeline. He called it a reset rather than a reboot because he thinks the word reboot sounds too drastic. So instead of wiping the slate clean, the idea is to fold the multiverse back into one cohesive universe. That would allow Marvel to keep what works while changing what doesn't. In the comics, something very similar happened in Secret Wars, where Doctor Doom gains godlike powers and becomes the ruler of Battleworld. But eventually, Reed Richards and his son Franklin reset the multiverse. With both of those characters now coming into the MCU through the Fantastic Four first steps, it's easy to see how that same storyline could unfold on screen. What this means for casting is actually pretty interesting. Feige has acknowledged that replacing iconic actors like Evans and Downey Jr. is a tall order, but it's not impossible. He pointed out how other franchises have done it, like DC with its new Superman, David Corenswet, and suggested that Marvel might go that route too. That gives Marvel some breathing room. They can bring back the original actors for multiverse cameos or villain variants leading up to Secret Wars, and then, after the reset, introduce new actors in those legacy roles. It's kind of the best of both worlds, giving fans a nostalgic payoff while also planning for the future. Even though most of the original Avengers have either died or stepped away from the MCU, Avengers Doomsday could be a last hurrah for them, but with a twist. Rather than playing their heroic selves, they might appear as dark, corrupted versions teaming up with Doctor Doom to challenge the next generation of heroes. And the demand for more stories featuring the original Avengers is still incredibly high. Marvel has tried to move past them by introducing new heroes and spin-off teams like Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World, but the reception has been mixed. A lot of fans still feel that the heart of the MCU lies with that original team: Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. They were the emotional and narrative core of the Infinity Saga, and replacing that magic isn't easy. Feige even admitted that one of the reasons Captain America: Brave New World didn't land as expected was because it lacked Chris Evans. That says a lot about how much of an uphill battle Marvel faces when trying to shift away from its legacy heroes. We also haven't had an Avengers movie since Endgame back in 2019. By the time Avengers Doomsday hits theaters in 2026, it will have been 7 years since the team last assembled on screen. That's a huge gap, especially when you remember how central those films were to tying the entire MCU together. During the Infinity Saga, Avengers movies were the glue for the big events that made everything else feel connected. Without that, the multiverse saga has sometimes felt like it's lacking direction. We've had some great movies and shows, but the connective tissue isn't quite as strong. That's why these upcoming Avengers movies are such a big deal. They have the chance to unify everything again. And with the Russo brothers returning to direct Doomsday and Secret Wars, it feels like Marvel is pulling out all the stops. These two films are shaping up to be a massive send-off for the old MCU and a launching pad for what comes next. It's no wonder fans are speculating like crazy about who's going to show up. So whether it's Chris Evans as Captain HYDRA, RDJ as Dr. Doom, or other original Avengers playing darker multiverse versions of themselves, Avengers Doomsday seems to be building towards something epic. And even though Marvel is preparing for the future with potential recasts and new timelines, it's clear they know the value of giving fans one last ride with the characters who built the franchise in the first place. It all adds up to a pretty exciting future. Marvel gets to tap into nostalgia while also resetting the board, making room for new actors, new heroes, and new stories, but without completely erasing what came before. That balancing act is tricky, but if they pull it off, it could breathe new life into the MCU and keep fans invested for years to come. So keep an eye out. If Dr. Doom is putting together a team, and if Evans is back even briefly, don't be surprised if Captain HYDRA ends up standing right next to him. Just one more twist in a saga full of surprises. Drop your ideas for future videos in the comments section down below. We're always down to hear what you want to see next. Stay locked in and let us know your thoughts on today's topic in the comments. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.